Baron Simone Young has lived in the ranks of the world's greatest conductors for decades now. But her story has a humble beginning.
I'm quintessentially a girl from Manly. I come from a completely non-musical family. I had a school teacher already by that stage who was dragging me to concerts and sending me to do this and that.
Simone Young became intimately acquainted with the opera repertoire in the years she spent working as a répétiteur, a pianist who plays with singers as they learn their roles. She was destined for bigger things and a career largely shaped by her love of composers of big music, like Richard Strauss, Gustav Mahler and Richard Wagner.
I had never heard any Wagner. I didn't have, as a pianist, I hadn't even thought about it. I mean, if I'd been a brass player, I probably would have been confronted with it straight away. And this day, the teacher put on, in those days, an LP and said we had to listen to this, and it was the prelude to Tristan, and I was just completely blown away. I couldn't believe the sounds. There is something about the tension that he creates and maintains over long spans and then releases, and then the tension picks up again, that creates enormous arcs of structure. What he created are masterpieces that can be interpreted by successive generations of directors and conductors and singers that address important key themes about humanity.
Now the chief conductor of the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, Simone Young brought a particularly big piece of music to local audiences for the first time last month. 140 musicians, 280 singers in 3 choirs, 6 soloists and a powerhouse conductor. Arnold Schoenberg's epic work Lieder is one of the most enormous orchestral pieces ever written. It's such a big work that a third of the seats in the stalls of the Sydney Opera House Concert Hall had to be removed to accommodate an extended stage.
Whereas even a traditionally big orchestra would have 6 horns and maybe 4 trombones, here we've got 10 horns, and I think there are 7 trombones and 2 tubas and 2 contra bassoons. I mean, it's really hugely extravagant.
In July, Young will add another accomplishment to her extraordinary career, becoming the first woman to conduct Richard Wagner's Ring Cycle at the annual festival of Wagner's music in the German town of Beyreuth.
Yes, it's the Mecca for Wagnerians. And Wagner fans go there every year. I mean, Angela Merkel is there almost every year.
It is a huge thing for you as a conductor. I mean, you've obviously got a huge reputation already, but, do you feel that yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll be sitting on the chair of all my heroes. I mean, Barenboim, of course, but going back to Furtwängler and Keilbert and, I mean, right back to Richter. It's quite extraordinary. And I take that on very seriously as carrying the responsibility and the weight of history as well.
The Ring Cycle, 14 and a half hours of music over 4 nights. In the theatre, the composer built specially to accommodate the massive orchestras, sets and dramas for which he is famous.
If you put it in sporting terms, you would say, Bayreuth is to opera, and particularly this repertoire, to Wagner, what Lord's is to cricket or Wembley is to British soccer. Wagner himself created this opera house. I think that's the special thing about it, because he created everything. I mean, he wrote the texts, he composed the music, he gave the instructions for the staging, he designed some of the machines for the staging. And then he designed this opera house in which to put it all on. And this extraordinary pit. The first time you see the opera pit in Bayreuth, you think you're it can't possibly work, because it literally goes down in steps and stairs, a height of about 2 floors, so that the brass are way down there and that sound all gathers up and comes up. I've conducted it many times, but you change and develop as an artist, and so I want to take the time to restudy, reacquaint myself with it. I have new singers, some of whom I've done it with before, some are new to me.
How different is it physically conducting, given that extraordinary pit that you're talking about?
Oh, it's quite different. And in fact, back in 92 or 93, Barenboim got me to conduct an entire act of Walküre. And I learnt more about conducting Wagner in the first 5 minutes in that pit than I think you could have learnt in years in a music academy, because the sound, you can't drive anything there. All you can do is steer it. Anybody who tries to force things usually crashes and burns.